We got to get some evil spirits out of here. What's up, my fancy familia? Mark with Cardivox Academy here, and today we are doing something pretty fun. So, Brand of Sacrifice came out with a song recently called Demon King, and we've talked about them before on the channel, but there's always more to talk about, and Kyle is a great vocalist. I think he's pretty good. I like him a lot. And so we're going to talk about it. We're going to break it down. We're going to have some fun. Now, if you're new to the channel, what we do here is we take the reaction format, we break it down, and we focus on kind of understanding and talking about what these metal vocalists are doing, or if, sometimes we're not sure, because that does happen, talking about how we can approach it. Now, that being said, my name is Mark. I'm a vocal coach focusing on predominantly screaming and raspy singing and gritty belting and all that good stuff. I'm the vocalist of Kardashev, Neverbreath, and Viremia. Been doing this for about 11 years, but I always find there's something new to learn. There's always some sort of innovation that these metal vocalists are doing, so it's always fun. Now, if you like the content, if you have a good time, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. It does help the channel a lot. Helps out with the old algorithm. And if you want to throw us some support, buy our editor, Steven, a coffee. We do have a Patreon where we have a lot of fun. You can vote on videos. You can nominate videos. We do one Patreon selected video per month. And we also have a Discord channel that's pretty busy round the clock. It's a lot of fun. So that being said, let's go ahead. Let's get into it. Brand of Sacrifice, Demon King. 3 minutes and 54 seconds. I'm thinking it's going to be short and sweet, but I'm guessing from their track record, we're going to pack a lot into those few minutes. So let's go ahead and talk about it. Yo, okay, so seems like we've got a good moment here. Holy crap, that's a lot. That's a lot in 42 seconds. Wowzers. Okay, so one thing when we talk about deathcore vocals, and I've talked about this a lot, we're going to keep this first little exposition here, this little educational part short, just so that we can have something to think about as we move forward. One thing I've talked about a lot, and this is a great example, is that metal vocals, especially in the deathcore realm, it's a vowel game. It's a vowel game. It is all about, finding a good tone, finding a simple tone, by the way, simple, manageable, right? So for me, a lot of my lows and mids that I do kind of build on this. Right? That sort of sound. It's really easy. It doesn't sound like much, but when we take it and we do things with our tongue, we find like an we can do all sorts of crazy cool things. At the beginning, he did something really interesting. He had two vocal layers, one high and one low, and that's pretty common. But he had this really nice high, like, right, and a low underneath it, and that was really fun. Let's keep going, because they're bringing the heat already. Okay, there's a lot. There's a lot. We gotta. Okay, so let's talk about this as if you're brand new. You're brand new. You like metal vocals. You're interested in how they work. This song is just going hard. Right? So it's gonna be hard to find good places to stop and talk. But what you're gonna want to do, right, is you're going to want to think about focusing. You're gonna want to think about focusing on developing a couple of things. right? A couple of things. So obviously we talk about breath support and resonance and things like that. But one thing we want to do is we want to focus on getting a tone that we can use for multiple placements. And here's what I mean, right? So a lot of vocalists, they'll say, this is my low, this is my high, and this is my mid. Now, this isn't for everybody. This isn't how everybody does it, but this is how I do it and how a lot of other people do it, is we find a tone that we can use for both and we manipulate it with our mouth shape. Super duper important, okay? So for example, for me, I have when I'm doing like vocals in my projects, I have really honestly two main sounds that I use. I'm down here, and I can use that for more of a mid if I open up, or a low if I point it forward. Then I have a high vocal, and then I can open it up to make it higher, or I can drop it down into my mouth to make it kind of a mid as well. So those two simple techniques, just because of the way we hold our mouth and the way we move our resonance, kind of sound like four, if that makes any sense. I want you to listen to, while you're listening to this, I want you to listen to the sound of his vocals and try to place what his tongue's doing. One of the best ways that we can play around with our vocals, especially when we have something solid down, is we can make funny voices with our clean voice, right? So for example, one thing that I think sounds really cool is this voice right here. Yeah, it's like sort of a Catman, like Catman from South Park a little bit. And it sounds super dumb. That sounds so dumb. But because of the way that I'm shaping my mouth with a metal vocal in it, sounds kind of neat, right? Let's keep going. I'm actually going to go back a little bit because I heard a couple things that I really liked. I really like the way he articulates his high vocals. We're going to talk about that in a second. He kind of goes the opposite direction that a lot of people do. So let's go back. I don't know. 50 is a good number. Let's go. So in the last video we put up, Spirit Box Constants, which is very different from this song, but we talked about a concept called vocal timbre, right? Making our voice bright, ah, or warm, ah, oh yeah, oh yeah. Most of the time when we do high vocals, we shoot for a brighter timbre, right? You can see my teeth. You can see my face scrunched up. One thing that he does, and some of my favorite vocalists do, Travis Ryan does this a lot. He's a vocalist for Cattle Decapitation, if you're unaware. I'd be surprised if you're unaware, but maybe you are, and that's fine. We kind of go the opposite direction. We find a high vocal, crank it up there, and then we use a warmer timbre. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with a bright timbre, and then I'm going to sort of push my tongue forward, lean it forward, not so much that we're doing like a full-on tunnel throat sound, but just to warm it up a little bit, and then I'm going to curve my lips around my teeth. So I'm going to go from here, and you can hear in my speaking voice, how much of a difference that makes, right? So let's do it on a high vocal, which is what he's doing here, and he's doing it very well. This guy, he's good at everything, but I'm particularly liking his high vocals right now. So, right? Seriously very cool. Also, we can do similar things with our lows as well, right? So we can have like sort of a brighter that's how you can get sort of those more yelling, chanting vocal sounds. And then if we go darker, right? If we go a little bit warmer in our tone, that's when we get into more of those guttural sounds. So a lot of the times when we're hearing these vocalists, if we're perplexed, if we're like, oh man, he just did like 10 different techniques, that does happen sometimes, right? Many vocalists will just throw out techniques crazy, crazy fast. But a lot of the times when we're thinking about different techniques, it's just augmenting a fundamental sound, right? That is underneath. It's underneath all that. Let's keep going. It's gonna get dirty. It's gonna get dirty. Come to my senses. I get the power of the God. So what am I so afraid of? What Hold on a second. Hold on a second. We got to get some evil spirits out of here. Whew. All right. So, I'm just kidding. There are no evil spirits here, but I do like the smell of incense. So, let's talk a little bit. Like, listen, there's no way I'm going to be able to cover everything that happened there. This video would have to be way longer. But let's talk about a couple of the coolest things that I heard. What the heck? There's a lot. So first of all, damn, those pig squeals are dirty. You know, usually when I think of like really high pitched, really shrieking pig squeals, I think vulvodynia, right? That's just kind of who comes to mind for me. And I think Brand of Sacrifice is, I think Kyle's now getting up there in some of what, for my ear, are the best of that type of pig squeal, right? Don't feel like you have to be that high to do a good pig squeal. You don't. But of the people who are that high, I think he's quite a contender. Now, when we think about those pig squeals, and I'll be honest, mine is not nearly as high as his. Not nearly as high. I haven't spent very much time, like, just, that's how you're going to do it, by the way, to get like to get your pig squeal as high and tight as possible. You're going to sit around and you're going to play with that sound, and you're going to move your tongue until you find what sounds like a little bit of a harmonic. So when we're talking about the human voice isn't just one sound. It's actually kind of like a stack of harmonics. And this stack of harmonics create the sound of our voice. Actually, let me show you something here real quick. This is going to be kind of weird, but bear with me. Boom, boom. Here we go. Okay. So this is me recording the audio right now. And if this could be bad. What did I do? Whatever. Well, it doesn't really show it because it's too big. But right now, what you can see down here, you see the section that kind of looks like fire. Like it kind of looks like fire going on. This is a spectrogram, and it's showing, I don't really pay attention to it when I'm doing this, but it's showing the various frequencies that are existing in my voice right now. So down here, around 500 hertz, it's very bright orange and yellow. That means there's a lot of 500 hertz frequencies going on. And if we were to zoom in, you would see that there are some sections that are less and some sections that are more. So when people are doing things like this, now, I'm certainly not an amazing overtone singer, but those like harmonics, and you can kind of see it here. You can kind of see it here hovering around the 1500 mark. Those frequencies brightened up. and they brightened up because I created a space in my mouth that allowed those sound waves to develop and move forward, right? It's kind of similar in a way to how a big jug, if you blow across it, gives you low sounds, and a small little bottle is going to give you higher pitched sounds. More room. It's more complicated than that, but that's just like a basic, super duper simple explanation, right? So when I do these sounds, I can bring those harmonics forward. Now we can use that and we can translate that into our pig squeals. Again, I don't do a lot of pig squealing myself, so definitely not going to be as high as this guy. He's pretty fantastic. But if I take this, you can hear those little harmonics coming through. And if you want to get as high as this, set aside some time, set aside an hour or two, and just sit around and play, go back and forth between your clean voice, find a really bright forward pingy sound, and then convert it over to your lows. Last thing I want to talk about this section, then we're going to go back a little bit and listen through, is that one thing he's doing really, really well is he's controlling not only his placement, he's moving through his vocals. He's not just like, now I bark out my lows, now I bark out my highs, now I bark out my mids. He's weaving them in, back and forth. And that's a very talented thing to do, because we're moving around our placement. We're kind of in a way moving through registers just with our scream, right? Because our screams move through the acoustic space of our head and our chest similarly to our clean singing voice, right? And then he's also easing off and on the breathiness. So at the end, he does kind of this like sort of lower rate of rattle. Like he has sort of that, and that's the soft palate sort of flapping against the back of my tongue, right? That's just because I'm using less air. That's really it. If I increase my airflow, it removes that. And then being able to go from your chest is very, very, I won't say it's imperative, but if you can do that, you're going to stand out a little bit more as a metal vocalist for sure. Let's go back right around here, just because it's dope, just because I like it. Damn. That is nuts. What a fun exposition. What a fun exposition of vocal technique, especially in such a fun kind of bouncy kind of pop, not poppy as in like pop music, but it has like a pop pop pop, like an aggressive push to it. Yeah, that was phenomenal. I loved that. So much fun vocal work that you can do there. So just to do kind of our post video wrap up, if you're kind of new to this and you're wanting to get kind of a low, middle, and a high, focus on getting two sounds that are comfortable. A low sound here, In a high sound here, and then you can over time learn how to move those down, move your high sound, so it's kind of a low, or your low sound, so it's a little bit more of a mid, right? We can take these sounds and we can move them together. And then once you're comfortable with that, play around with your tongue shape, play around with your mouth shape. Make sure that you're pointing forward, right? If I point my voice forward, ooh, yeah, ooh, right? Those bright forward sounds. If I channel my screams that same way, they're going to sound much better, right? So if I do a scream nice and pointed forward, aiming at my hard palate, if I keep it in my throat, it's a little less powerful, and my muscles, just from doing that, my muscles are already working too hard. They're telling me like, yo, you keep that up, it's not going to be good. But you point it at your hard palate, you can do it for days and days and months and years and however long you want. So again, if you enjoyed the content, please feel free to like, share, and subscribe. I greatly appreciate it. We appreciate the support. And if you want to help us make these videos, if you want to keep this content coming, consider checking us out on Patreon. We're trying our hardest to move to 2 videos per week, just because they're fun. They're fun to do. It's a great time. I appreciate you all watching the video. It means a lot to me. And as always, many thanks. Much love. I'm out.